Hey, good morning, good people. Hey, my name is Kojak, aka Yay Yay.
And I'm Maya, aka Moses, and welcome to the first episode of Minds of the Youth.
Hey, listen, today is going to be a really, really hot topic, and so I think it's a topic that needs to be discussed.
Yeah.
And so not just today, but this is one that is talked about a lot. You hear it often, and you even see the results of it, in everyday life, right? Yeah. And so I want to know, why did you choose to talk about this topic? What is the topic, and why did you want to start off with this topic?
Well, the topic for today's episode that we're going to be talking about is anxiety. And I chose anxiety. Well, there's a backstory to the reason why I chose anxiety.
Okay.
So, basically, have you ever seen the movie Inside Out?
Inside Out.
With like all the different emotions going on in this.
No, but I heard about it though.
Yeah. So, if people know, over the summer, like in 2024, the new movie Inside Out 2 came out, and they had different emotions. Because in the first movie, they had like anger, sadness, happiness, disgust, scared, or I think it was like scared or something like that. And then in the next movie, they had these different ones that like you can hear more of today. Like they had anxiety, depression, nostalgia. They had embarrassed. They had a lot of different envy. They had a whole bunch of different ones. So
okay.
But when I watched the movie, I cried because anxiety was one of the main characters in the movie. Because Riley was just becoming a teen, and she was dealing with like moving from schools and joining this new team. Her friends was leaving her, and so she started to suffer from anxiety and had these like anxiety attacks and everything. And so anxiety, her emotion, started becoming the main character, and she had this one huge, awful anxiety attack, and it made me cry. I was in the movie theaters crying because I could just relate to it a lot.
So let me ask you a question. So in the anxiety that she was experiencing, was it because she was leaving her friends and she was going to a new place?
It was just a lot because she's entering high school and all her friends are leaving her. So she got to start a new school with nobody she knows. She's on this new hockey team that nobody wants her to be a part of. And she's leaving her friends, and they're just acting like they don't care as much about her as they used to. And so she's just suffering from all this and trying to still fit in, but it...
You know what? That is so powerful. I have to go back and watch this movie, right? Yeah. Because I heard so much about, it's called Inside Out.
Yes, Inside Out 2, actually. You need to watch the first one and the second one.
Right. But I want to watch the first one first,
yeah.
And then come with the second one. Because anxiety, and this is what oh man, it's just so dope. Because we started a feelings group, and it's called From Feelings to Freedom. Mm-hmm. And it deals with becoming emotionally aware of our feelings, and our motto is feel, deal, so you can heal. And so a lot of times what we do is we can tell you a situation, but we can't tell you how we feel in the situation, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we don't know how to identify how we feel. And so for you to tell me this movie, it's like, okay, she's feeling anxiety, right? And she may know that she's feeling it, but I would like to find out what anxiety means, because I like the definition of anxiety, because there's a saying that the anticipation of an event is always greater than the event itself.
Yeah.
Right? Did you understand what I just said? Okay.
Well, I have the definition of anxiety right here. It says the real definition of anxiety. So I'm going to read that just for the people who don't know what anxiety is. It says, anxiety is a feeling of fear, dread, and uneasiness. It might cause you to sweat, feel restless and tense, and have a rapid heartbeat. It can be a normal reaction for stress. For example, you might feel anxious when faced with a difficult problem at work, before taking a test, or before making an important decision. And that's according to Google.
So the definition is said that anxiety is fear, uneasiness, and what was the third one?
Dread.
Dread. So see, this is what, and that's powerful. So just speaking off of that movie, a lot of times because I dread going somewhere new because, I'm familiar with my friends. I've been with them for 7, 8 years. And so I've gotten accustomed to being around them. They know me to some degree. And now I dread going into a new spot around new people.
Yeah.
Trying to become familiar with the system and how everything flows in a new place. So it's not that the place is bad. It's not that the people there or the young people there are bad. It's just the simple fact that I'm dreading to do something new.
Yeah. Especially if you have to do it alone, like you're not with the people that you want to be with to do it.
Okay. And that makes sense. That makes sense to where a lot of times we look at it and be like, man, I'm alone and I got to do this on my own. But this is why I think, and when I relate to her as Moses, that is her nickname. That's what I call her. And by the way, this is my granddaughter. And so I call her Moses because I just chopped up her first and middle name. It used to be My Mo, but then I just kept going. And so we landed at Moses. But the thing about it is, it's not that this is that you're alone. Mm-hmm. It's just our perspective of how we're looking at it.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I would.
And so that's why, I think that when it comes to us, the older generation, we need to hear it from your perspective, because how your point of view of it is really what determines, how you're feeling about it. Right?
Yeah.
And so how do you feel when it comes to anxiety? Like in school, give me some examples of what anxiety would look like from personal experience or from conversations that you done heard. What does anxiety look like to you? You know what I'm saying? In school, in the school setting.
I think anxiety's in school, I feel like the reason why in school it causes anxiety because one, the teachers. I feel like the teachers sometimes can give kids anxiety because they may not be able to adapt to the environment that they're in, and some teachers don't make it better. Some teachers are always yelling, always nagging, picking on the children. So then sometimes I think that causes anxiety. But also another one is the kids that they're around too. Like bullying or just making fun of someone can cause anxiety because it just makes them feel very self-conscious. And it just makes them, I think that's what causes, that's one of the reasons that anxiety is a thing because of it.
Okay, so when it comes to the teachers, because it's almost like, because I can hear some teachers saying, well, I've set my room up to where it's comfortable. Yeah. You have some, like spaces where quiet space, you can go and relax and chill. Classroom management is huge to where, I believe that teachers are dealing with a lot because kids are coming to school with a lot of issues.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, maybe I'm hearing that, or help me understand, how can teachers better help kids deal with anxiety in the school setting, in classroom, where, there may be some students that's more vocal, you know what I'm saying, and jokesters that like to joke on kids.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To where a kid can feel, oh, I'm fear, or I'm dreading them talking about me because I may not have, the type of clothes that everybody else got on.
Yeah.
Or my hair may not be done, or I may not have a haircut or whatever, and I'm dreading them talking about me. So help us understand what are some ways that teachers or educators can help, create an environment to where it's less anxious, to where kids can come in and not have to, really deal with anxiety, at a high level.
Yeah. Well, there are some things that teachers can do, but sometimes the teachers can try their best, and sometimes it's still the kids that are making them more anxious. So I feel like teachers should have more rules for like a punishment. If you notice that like kids are talking about someone and you see that they're looking sad because they're most likely not saying something that's making them feel good about themselves. So I feel like teachers can like give them more of a punishment, send them down to the office or something. Because some teachers just like, well, stop saying that about them. It's not right, And telling people is not going to make them stop all the time. So I feel like the punishment should be, you're going down to the principal's office because this is bullying, basically. And so I feel like the teachers should be more vocal towards the students.
Okay.
Because I feel like some of the teachers are scared to say some stuff to the students. Because it be seeming like that sometimes. It's like, are you like scared to send them, like give them a punishment, send them down to the office? Because every time they're doing something, all you're saying is just stop. Like stop is going to, some people don't listen to
So
that.
I like that. I like that, because when you said that some teachers are scared, so in other words, so teachers could very well be dealing with anxiety, fear of, man, this kid, responding in a way to where it's really hostile.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you know how kids sometimes be like, you ain't my mama or you ain't my daddy, and take it to a whole nother level over something, really simple. So it's not just, so now, see, you done brought a whole nother aspect to this to where, because it's not just the young people or the students or the youth that's dealing with anxiety.
It's the adults and the teachers.
Right.
A lot of people suffer from anxiety, so I think for some teachers it's kind of hard to help a student because they're also suffering from it, so they don't even know what to do themselves. So
wow.
Yeah.
So and I think that's very, very important. This is where transparency comes into play, where we have to be open and honest about where we are and about some of the things that we deal with. Because if I let you know that, hey, listen, I deal with anxiety too, so I'm gonna need you to do this, and let's make sure we stay on schedule, stay on point, because when you do opposite of that, I get anxious, right? And so being a person that is operating with anxiety, do you think that if I'm anxious about something, how do you think my decision making is? Do you think I'm making really good decisions, or okay decisions, or poor decisions?
I feel like when you're making decisions, you're just going off of your feeling of how you feel right then and there. So sometimes they may not always be good, and because like when anxiety, I think some people like they answer too fast, like they didn't even really think about it, and they're just going off how they're feeling. So the decision making isn't always right, and they be like, well, dang, I could have said something better, or so.
Right. So that is so awesome. This is why I believe that anxiety, and even talking about this and hearing it from your perspective, because I think that if they're dealing with it in school, that they brought it with them, right? So there must be some issues outside of school
Going on at home.
right, that kids are dealing with that brings it to school. And so school just compounds. It's just adding to what's already taking place. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how do we create an environment to where kids can come in and like breathe like man, this is a place where I don't have to be in fear. I don't have to dread to where if I struggle with reading, don't call me to read.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you know I'm struggling with reading, then if you put me in a position to where I'm learning how to read better, you know, and it may not be in front of everybody. Now, when I come to your class, you know, I just think, and help me out with this. If I come to your class, I may not read because you understand where I am as far as my reading level and how I may become very anxious if you ask me to read in front of everybody, the fear and the dread, you know, the uneasiness that I'm feeling just take over, right? So I don't read, but maybe I help in different ways. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm very helpful in different ways. Maybe I get up and I pass out the assignments.
Yeah.
Or do something other than saying, okay, I'm just going to neglect reading as if I don't do anything. Do you think that that's something that can also be done? Okay, you struggle with reading. And so I'm not going to call on you to read, but I need for you to do this.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I feel like some teachers should take that into, like, they should think about that sometimes because I know personally me, I do like to talk, but sometimes in school I don't want to be reading. They be calling, they be like, "Ma, you want to read?" I be like, "Absolutely not. I don't want to read."
Why not though? Because you read good.
I know, but sometimes I just don't be in the mood. I be in school. I just be like, I don't feel like talking today. And so, like, sometimes my teachers understand. They be like, okay, that's fine. Like, you don't have to. But, I mean, I'll pass out papers for you and stuff. But sometimes and even for people, even if you don't have anxiety, there's some days where you don't feel like talking about it. Something happened at home, you come to school, and you just you're not in it today. I feel like some teachers should take that and just be like, you come up to the teachers and be like, hey, can you not call on me today? I just don't really feel like talking.
Listen.
And you know what I got that from? The youth group at a church, because Mr. Donald was like, if you guys don't feel like talking, like if today was not your day, just come up to an adult and just be like, I don't feel like talking today. Is it okay if I just sit out? I'm going to listen, but I just don't feel like talking today. So I feel like some teachers should be able to accept that.
Listen, that is so dope right there. Generation Bless, a Straight Gate Community Church. A shout out to the youth group, to the husband and wife that's over that. Donald Martin, awesome comedian, and his wife is I wear all kind of hats. You know, she do everything. Kim Martin. But I love that because you said something that my understanding, because I used to be a life coach in the school system for 8 years. And so I used to tell students when they would come in, hey, listen, if you having a bad day and you just ain't feeling it, let us know. Yeah. So we'll know how to deal with you, right?
Instead of not saying anything and then the teachers think you're being disrespectful and ignoring them. So
yes. Yeah. Absolutely, because then when you got your head down and you ain't supposed to be sleeping or whatnot, instead of me understanding where you at, I didn't know you had a headache. So I deal with the behavior. So now I'm sending you to the office because you have a headache, but you never told me that you had a headache. Yeah. So that is very, very important for you to come up. And I think it's mature too, for you to come and be like, hey, you know, today, you know, I'm just not feeling it, you know, but you can't use that every day though.
Yeah.
That can't be an excuse.
Yeah.
You know, to get out of, well, I'm just gonna say that because I know they're gonna honor that.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, we can't do that.
Because some people really be out of it, like they just really be having those days where they don't feel like doing anything. And so I feel like that's a really good, thing to use, especially if, I feel like teachers should be able to let kids use it, because if it was them, now I know they would want to use that. They'd be like, hey, boss, I'm not. They'd be so quick to call off them days. They'd be like, hey, boss, I'm not feeling it today.
PTO, but they got that though. Personal days you can call off, you know. But hey, great example though. You get it. So even teachers, even adults, you know, I ain't feeling it today, you know. But one thing about adults is a lot of times we may not be feeling it, but we just press on through anyways. You know what I'm saying? Right, because I don't feel like cooking. You know, I'm not saying me, because I don't do the cooking. Right, my wife do. But you know, it's like I don't feel like cooking, but I got kids, so it's like I got to cook anyways. Yeah. You know, so just pressing through that. I love this conversation because it's just helping us get a clear picture of anxiety from the perspective of a young person, right? Yeah. Now, thank you for those examples of anxiety being in the school setting. You know, help us understand what anxiety may be at home. Because this is where, you know, like they say, everything starts at home. Yeah. Right? What are some of the things that could possibly go on? It don't always have to be something that you personally been through, but it can be. But even kids that you know them been through something. What are some things that you think that causes, you know, anxiety, you know, at home? Yeah.
Some things are like, say if you're in a household where there's a lot of yelling and a lot of arguing. I feel like if your mom and dad are arguing all the time and getting into fights all the time, I feel like that causes anxiety for some kids, because they're just like, they're fighting, I don't want to say nothing. Yeah. So it's just like, they get very anxious, and then even sometimes your parents may take that anger out on you from the arguments they had earlier, and it can cause you to shut down and just, it causes more anxiety. I feel like yelling is a big one, and stuff like that, and abuse sometimes it causes anxiety and also anger. So I feel like their anxiety can turn into anger, and I think that's why some kids may come to school bullying other kids, which gives them anxiety because they don't know how to deal with it themselves, because they're receiving that from their parents.
That makes sense. You know, you bringing that up was very good, because it made me think about my childhood. You know, your grandma, you know, your great grandma, my mom, my mama. But she a firecracker, you hear me? But she was one that was very aggressive. So with her boyfriends, she would fight, you know, and it wouldn't be no thing. However, I'm sitting here thinking about that. Every time they would go to arguing, I would be in fear that it's going to escalate into
and something will happen and you can't do anything about it.
Right. And that's happened, you know, many times. And it's like, so even if when I heard the arguing, normally it would escalate into fighting. So a lot of bumping and screaming. And so then even if they were playing and they was just, you know, loud and just talking, you know, talking back and forth to each other, you know what I'm saying? But in a jokingly way, I would be in fear because I'm hearing them loud voices. And so I'm thinking, next thing you know, they about to start fighting. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So even though they're not fighting, even though they may be, you know, just having healthy conversation, joking around, right? And healthy conversation, but voice is raised. But I'm in tiptoe anticipation, like, oh man.
And it triggers you because of the things that has happened before.
Yes. And you know what? And this is another thing to where a lot of times what is not even addressed is how kids feel about that situation, about those, those moments that may come up. So what I learned to do is I learned to just suppress how I feel. And I'm so anxious to where I go to school so when I hear people, get to hollering, or if a teacher hollers at me, raises their voice, it triggers.
Yeah, it can cause you to snap, or it can cause you to break down. And I think like sometimes what I have learned from my mom, like she has like told me, like, cause she's noticed, but I don't think I really do good with men yelling at me, if that makes sense. Like if someone is scolding me or is raising their voice towards me, I can't handle it that much. I mean, I think it's the same for women too. I think I just really can't handle people yelling at me, period. But even when they do, like if I get in trouble and my dad will yell at me, I just shut down. I won't say nothing. He'll ask me questions, be like, do you hear me? And I'll just stare at him. Or I'll get agitated, scratch my head, put my fingers, because like I can't do that. I can't listen to it, and it just makes me like anxious. So I think, she says she's noticed that like when things like that happens, like I just can't be myself.
Excuse me. So is it the raising of the voice, or is it the seriousness of the question or the topic?
I think it's just the raising of the voice, even if like I'm not even in trouble and he's just asking. I just can't deal with it. Like you have to ask in like a tone which is not yelling, because if so, then I'm not gonna answer. Even if I'm not even sure, they're like, you're not in trouble, and I'm like, I can't answer because you're yelling at me, and so I feel pressure, and so then I can't respond. And so, I think it's just, it doesn't really necessarily have to do with the question. I mean, sometimes I may shut down because of the question that's being asked. But even if it's not a serious question, I still just shut down and don't say anything at all.
Okay. So listen, I appreciate, this truthfulness, because this perspective, it helps in dealing with young people. And the thing about it, I've heard that many times, because it's almost like when a young person, this is what used to throw me off. Now if you hollering, a young person, if you hollering and I'm talking to you, in a calm voice, but you're still hollering now, and it's almost like you're not understanding. So when I raise my voice, now all of a sudden it's like, oh Lord, and it's like, why you hollering at me? And it's like,
you just hollering at me.
Right. Like I'm trying to talk calm and you're not getting it. And so it's almost like me raising my voice to a level to where to get your attention.
Yeah, I was finna say that, because like if you're talking in a common voice, they're just not understanding. Like they're like, I'm not listening to what you're saying. But then once you get to where their level, where you're yelling too, then I think that's when they start to listen more. And it's like, I shouldn't have to do that in order for you to listen.
Right. Because I was about to ask you, so if they are on 10, if they are there, do I just go ahead and wait until, or just give them options and say, hey, listen, just go ahead, take a walk for a minute, or just go and calm down, then we can talk? Because if I engage in this conversation, then I know I'm going to have to go, some octaves up, above what you going, and we may not get nowhere.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how can and that's rough too. As a parent, I'm like, I just don't think that man, listen, as a kid, you just don't have any justification to be arguing at your parent. Yeah. You don't have to like what they say or agree with what they say, but how to respond or deal with it, I think we need to find a better way to do it, or do it in a respectful way, right?
Yeah.
Because even as a 50-year-old man, I can't even see myself right now arguing with my mama, or even raising my voice. And it's like, and I can disagree and with what she do or what she say, and do it in a respectful way, right?
Yeah.
So I think that that's part of, but I'm gonna tell you this. One of the things that helped me do that is that, just understanding my mom's position, right? That's my mama,
Yeah.
It ain't gonna change. And so I don't have to like what she say or do. Her position never changes.
Yeah.
So I have to respect her in that position, right? And so then what I learned how to do, and I just recently learned, I still got to deal with how I feel though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I have to deal with how I feel. As a 14-year-old young lady, do you think that young people at home, do they have access or the open door to express how they feel?
I think it depends on some of the people's families, because I feel like some people, some people's parents may be open and want to hear how they're feeling, but then with other people, the parent just wants to be heard, and they're not really getting any feedback from the kid. Like they're like, well, why aren't you responding to me? It's like, because you ain't giving me a chance to say anything. It's
Right.
like they're wanting you to say something, but then you can't because you may be scared, or they're not giving you enough opportunity to. So then some people, that's why I think they just keep it to themselves, and then that's why it's just hard for some parents to communicate with their kids, because their kids, they were like, well, you're not giving me any chance to do anything, so I don't have any chance to say what I need to say.
Wow. Hey, that's really good, because you made me think about something, to where even as a parent, when I shut my child down from expressing how they feel, what I'm teaching them to do when they walk outside my doors is not to stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
I'm teaching you that, hey, listen, you don't stand up for you. As a matter of fact, you let people walk over you,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm even thinking about that, parents, to where even at home, if we engage in conversations, even tough conversations, because even as parents, there's conversations that we may fear, mm-hmm. or we may dread having, especially with our young kids coming up. It's like, man, I dread having that conversation with this boyfriend, girlfriend conversations, do's and don'ts. And it's like, oh, I dread that conversation. And so it's like, I think that's a really huge teaching moment. How do you still deal with something that you dread doing? And I think one of the ways you deal with like conversation, dealing with a conversation that you dread having, is changing your attitude about it.
Yeah.
Right? So instead of looking at it like, oh Lord, I don't know what in the world is, I don't want to have this conversation. But when I look at it from a standpoint of like this, and I'm just saying, for me, this is what I would do. I'm going to acknowledge the fact that I believe that my granddaughter is very intelligent. And so we're going to have an intelligent conversation, mm-hmm. right? And we're going to have an intelligent, honest conversation that I don't want her learning, out here in society, and having those first conversations with somebody that don't really love her.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? For you. So it's like, let's have these conversations, and I want to have them in a way to where I don't want to look at them as if they're dreadful. It may be uneasy, but I want to look at it in a way to where it's like, man, I need to hear your perspective. Mm-hmm. Let me hear what you think about this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because when you create an environment for them to talk, it puts you parents in a better position to be able to, okay, let me share some wisdom, because now we understand how you're viewing it.
Yeah, and it's very important so that they can take those and use it for the future, and so they don't end up making mistakes, and they already know what they need to do in order so they don't make those mistakes.
Yes.
It's very important to have conversation, like serious conversations, even if you don't want to, but it's going to impact them in a very good way. So
that's I think that's something that even when it comes to anxiety, so I believe like one of the ways to deal with anxiety is you just got to do it.
yeah,
So, man, I dread reading. I'm uneasy reading. So one of the ways that I'm thinking that, hey, let me start reading at home.
mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? If I struggle, let me get a tutor and start becoming, just get better at, at reading, so I can go ahead and, because I'm going to have to face that. I'm going to have to deal with, being out, because if I get this big time job in corporate America, if I get this job, now it's like, hey, and I may be, head of marketing.
yeah.
You gonna have to talk. You gonna have to get out in front of people.
You gotta put that anxiety to the side for a second, and you're just gonna have to do
Right.
what you need to do.
Right. So some of the ways to just deal with anxiety, and I know that there's a very, I think, a super dope way to deal with anxiety, and we got it on here, and we want to definitely give you that information. And I'm telling you, it works, because when I'm anxious, what I'm doing is I'm focusing so much on the situation. And what I'm doing is I'm magnifying it. Yeah. I am blowing the situation up as if, like taking a test. Young people, oh my God, man, this test is going to be so hard. And it's like, man, yeah. it's 100 questions, and it's like, oh my God. And so it's a midterm test, and you have become so anxious of this, and to where the anticipation of it, you don't even know what questions are even on the test.
Yeah.
You don't even know that, right? But you just automatically assume that because you have taken other tests, that, man, this test is going to be 100 questions, and it's going to be super hard because somebody said it was hard. So now I done already worked myself up to believing that this test is going to be hard, only to get in there and find out that it's 20 questions.
And it's not even that hard for you. It's just hard for the other person.
Come on now. Did y'all hear that? It wasn't hard for you. It was just hard for the other person. So you can't allow what's difficult for other people to become difficult for you. That's a way. Come on now. Come on now, Moses. So see, that's another way of how we become anxious, or we start walking in anxiety, because we're trying to, well, if it happened to them, it's going to happen to me. Yeah. And that's not so. Yeah. And I just believe that even when it comes to your family, because your mom and dad, or your aunts and uncles, because everybody went to prison, that don't mean you have to go. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because everybody in your family had kids at an early age, don't mean you have to have, that don't mean that you're going to have kids at an early age. Yeah. And so I'm saying I want to be able to learn how to deal with how I feel, but put things in the right perspective. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And so I know sometimes I'm going to need some help putting things in the right perspective, because I can be far right or far left on something. And it's like, well, okay, well, let's deal with some facts. Yeah. And let's bring it on in. But this is a great example of how to deal with anxiety. So help us out, Moses. What is this exercise?
So we have the 3-3 rule for anxiety. Oh, did I say 3 threes?
Yep.
3-3-3 and rule for anxiety. And so This is something that you can use to help, like if you're having an anxiety attack or you're feeling very anxious, it's something that can help you calm you down and get you back to where you need to be. Because you're all the way out here, you just need to be right here. That's all you need to be. And so there are 3 things that you can do. So the first one is name 3 things you see. So if you're out, you can name 3 things you see. So say I'm anxious, 3 things I see. I see Yay, I see a picture, and I see a TV. Yeah. And then another thing that you can do is name 3 sounds you hear, because you can hear different things at a time. So I hear outside, I hear them talking, and I think that's the air. I don't know, but
yeah, it's the heat because it's still kind of chilly outside. So that's the heat you hear.
Well, I hear the heat, and then another one is name 3 parts of your body. So my fingers, my legs, and my forehead. So it's different things that you can do to help you calm down. Another one that I have learned from my mom was the mountain breathing, and so you just take your fingers and you just go. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And you can do it as many times as you need to, but usually after doing it that one time, it helps. And so that's something that I've learned that can calm you down. I've actually tried that one before many times.
Really?
And it works. Yeah, it works.
You know what? Because just listening to you and that 3-3-3 rule, we've actually used that, to test it out, and it works. The reason why is when I'm anxious about something, all I'm thinking about is that situation, right? And so if I have to focus on something different than the situation, hey, 3 things you see. Now I got to put my focus on 3 things I see.
Yeah.
3 things you hear. So what I'm doing is I'm refocusing. I'm just putting my focus on something else that allows me, to really get myself together to where I'm not being overwhelmed and consumed by whatever that situation is. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So that is really, really important for us to understand. Sometimes, listen, in life, we're going to get overwhelmed. We're going to get overwhelmed with the issues of life. But that's when we need to be able to focus in on something else. Yeah. Right? A lot of times as people, we can get so focused on me. Woe is me. Oh, man, my life it ain't nothing. I don't have nothing.
And doing that you can miss out on a whole bunch of other stuff.
Absolutely. You can miss out on a lot. And there's probably somebody's life that's worse than yours. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Somebody going through something a little bit worse than what you're going through, or it could be going through the same thing that you're going through. But the thing about it is, if you don't communicate, then we don't know. Yeah. So another tool of dealing with anxiety is communicating. You got to talk. Yeah. Let us know, let somebody know what you're dealing with. Share with them your perspective, how you seeing things, because I don't want to misdiagnose you with what I think you should do. And it's like, what? Like, that's not even what I'm even thinking about. Yeah. That's not what I'm dealing with. And it's like, oh, wow. Okay. So I'm trying to diagnose you from what I assume is going on in your life. Yeah. That's why we have to listen and engage in conversation, about what's going on in your life. So then I know where I can help. Right. Yeah. So communication is another tool, and being able to communicate with somebody. How important is it to be able to communicate with somebody that you can be authentic, you can be all the way real with? Yeah,
it's really important. And I feel like for some people, young people at this, they don't talk to adults most of the time when they're feeling like they talk to other kids, and those other kids are dealing with the same thing, and so they're trying to help each other, and then they're like, well, I don't know how to really deal with it, but I do this to deal with it, and it may be smoking or drinking, and it's like this is how I cope with it because I don't even know how to deal with it myself. But I think that's why it's important for kids to have therapists too, or just one person that they can actually talk to that's not a kid, someone that's actually experienced the things and was able to get out of it. And so I feel like it is very important to have someone that you can talk to and they can help you get through what you're going through.
Absolutely. So listen, we really encourage, whoever you may be, whether it's a parent, whether it's a mentor, youth leader, coach, whatever you may be, teacher, whatever, we're saying you need to be in a position to where, kids can approach you and be authentic and be all the way, 100 with you. I that's something that I strive to do, because in order for me to help, I got to know where you at.
Yeah.
Right. And so I want to put myself in a position to where young people, they feel comfortable with coming and telling me, and really opening up and, giving the real.
And a lot of people do that with you. I be seeing your phone be blowing up. They be calling him, asking him for advice and be like, man, Coach Jack, I gotta tell you this, da, 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 da.
Man, you know what? And it's a blessing though, because they do. Because the thing about it is I'm transparent about my life, and I let them know, listen, I've been through this. I've been through that right there. And I know that a lot of times people, not only people, but we're going to talk about young people, you're transitioning.
Yeah.
You're going from middle school to high school. Yeah. That's a huge transition.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like even from elementary to middle school. So these transitions, like you said in that movie, Inside Out, the transition of moving to a whole nother school, being around different people, and just getting acclimated with your new surroundings, that's a huge transition.
It is.
Listen, and I get that. And one thing I don't want to do is minimize your transition to where I can be like, oh, that ain't nothing. That can be
a big deal for the person that's going through it.
Exactly. And so to put ourselves in a position to where it's like, man, I don't want to discredit, your perspective.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How you looking at it? It really may be huge. And so it's like, okay, so how can we create a canvas, for you to paint a picture? Now, your picture may be just like this, but it's like, okay, I get it. I hear you. So now let's create a canvas to where you can minimize that. Let's, to where now, because out here I'm feeling this and I'm feeling that. And it's like, okay, let's bring it back. Let's deal with some facts, to where we can help you really prioritize, what I'm saying? That picture to where you ain't drowning from it, So that's one thing that we really need to do is become transparent, to young people, letting them know that, man, listen, you ain't the only one. Not only are you not the only one going through it or done dealt with it, but even as adults, there's different transitions in our lives that we need help transitioning with.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of times for us, we've done it, we've gotten some age to where we've learned how to suppress more things, which is not good. Because now the more I suppress, the more or the less I become available to really be a help to you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I got so much going on, I can't even help you. So so we need to be transparent and just be real, because young people are dealing with issues nowadays that a lot of us didn't deal with, right? Mm-hmm. And we had certain outlets to be able to deal with certain things, right? So the anxiety of just dealing with, school, at home, And the last one I think we can wrap it up with is how does anxiety show up socially out here, you know, whether you hanging out with your friends, going to a party, because we understand that anxiety is fear, uneasy, and dread. I got a question though, because this is one thing that I know, even when it comes to young people. I think young people are the greatest pretenders. They pretend like they know something when they don't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They pretend that they are something that they really not, right? And so this is what I'm saying. A lot of kids I know, after talking to them, they are uneasy in certain settings when certain people may show up, certain people may come, or even the environment or where they at, they're uneasy about being there, but instead of them leaving, they stick it out. And they stay there uneasy, and to where now they're fearful. Why? I just want to know, why stay in a setting or in an environment where you're uneasy, and let's say a party, you know, and the party lit, you know what I'm saying? But you already know certain people come, the whole environment gonna change, right?
Yeah.
Or if you done had confrontation with somebody you see, they show up, you know what I'm saying? Now you uneasy. Why stay in a situation where you're really uneasy to where you can't even enjoy the party because you uneasy? Why stay?
I think I think the reason why we do that as young people is because we feel uneasy. We don't even want to be around after, like you said, if somebody comes and there was a problem with them, why do we still stay? I think it's because, for me, I know, like, if that happens, I want to stay because I may still want to try to have fun, and I can't because they're there, but it's like I don't want to ruin everybody else's time. So, like, if somebody wants me to go somewhere and I go, and I'm just like, well, I don't like the people that are here, I'm still staying because you want me to do it. So I'm going to do it because you want me to do it.
Listen, that is so good. I thank you for your honesty. Now that's really good. You know why it's good? For the simple fact that a lot of times what we do is we bring other people into the situation instead of us dealing with us and how we feel. We go ahead and push that to the side because we're saying, well, I don't want to ruin it for somebody else.
Yeah.
But you're not dealing with how you feel. You're still going to be uneasy, and we kick into that protect mode to where it's like, I'll protect somebody even at the cost of me being harmed. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about, hey, somebody breaking your house to where you're going to protect somebody. I'm talking about to where you don't want to hurt a person's feelings, or you don't want to tell the person the truth about how you feel, so you allow them to keep walking over you.
Yeah.
You allow them to keep, degrading you.
It just keeps hurting you.
Right.
And it's really, in reality, some people, it may not even hurt them. And so they don't know because you're never telling them how you feel. And so it's hurting you more than it actually is hurting the other person.
Absolutely. And guess what? If you tell me, hey, man, I'm kind of uneasy, and so you can go ahead and stay. I just don't want to, I can't deal with this right now. I need to leave, right? You have to be okay with this, because this is one thing that I really understand, and I live by this today. How I feel about me has to trump other people's opinions about me.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, Moses, listen. How you feel about you, it has to trump other people's opinions about you. Why? Oh, you don't want to stay. Oh man, you party pooper, you messing up. And it's like, I got to be okay with your opinion because you entitled to that.
Yeah.
But your opinion ain't gonna change how I feel. I'm uneasy. I'm in fear and I'm not enjoying this.
Right.
Let me deal with how I feel because that's more important than your opinion. Right? So then I become better when I learn how to deal with how I feel. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I'm able to express to you, hey, look, this is why I was feeling the way I was feeling. You know what I'm saying? Didn't mean to, bring a damper to, to you enjoying yourself, but I had to deal with me. That's why it's so important that we don't continue to just disregard how we feel, because how you feel is how you feel. You're not wrong in how you feel. I don't care what the feeling is.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. Nobody's wrong in how they feel. We just can't stay there. That means we have to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? That's the rough part, that's the part where I'm saying a lot of times we don't deal with how we feel. So we'll stay at a party and it's like, man, I really don't want to be here because I'm fearful and I just can't enjoy myself. So instead of me leaving and dealing with how I feel, why am I uneasy? Why am I fearful? What happened that made me, get to this point? Who is all involved in this? You have to ask yourself these questions and then work through them. You got to answer them though, because that's going to help you get to your why. Why am I dealing with anxiety? Why am I anxious? Right? To where you become better. Right? So I'm just saying, don't just sit there and be anxious just because you want to help somebody else feel better or you want to make their experience better, because I think that transcends in every aspect, even relationships. When you start talking about even how, dealing with young people, dealing with sex. Well, I'm uneasy and I ain't ready, but because the person I'm dealing with may have already experienced this, and I don't want to really tell them that I'm uneasy, so I go ahead and do it. Yeah. See, this is where, a lot of these things happen because we don't want to be authentic and tell them how we feel, right? So we need to get some practice in, sharing how you feel, but you got to be able to process them yourself, and you got to be able to know how you feel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we got to become emotionally aware of our feelings. Man, right now I am anxious. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, I don't know how this first episode, I don't know what people gonna think. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm like, oh my goodness. No, I'm excited though, really. I'm not even anxious. I'm excited about what this could do and what this can bring to young people. And so, Moses, I appreciate this. I enjoyed you too today.
I enjoyed you too. I feel like we got everything covered that we needed to and more.
Yeah. So listen, today, the first episode was on anxiety. We had the Google definitions, so look it up. There are ways for you to be able to deal with anxiety.
And there are even more ways than what we listed. There are tons of things that you can
Absolutely. do. Yeah. So listen, we encourage you to do the 333. What you see, what you hear, and what you can touch. To help you get your focus off of whatever the situation is, so you can kind of get yourself together. To be able to deal with the situation, right? So also you got to understand this. You have to feel it. You got to embrace whatever the feeling is. You got to embrace it, right? Because you're not wrong in how you feel, but you have to embrace it. And then you have to move to the next stage is you have to deal with how you feel.
Yeah.
Because ultimately we want to get to the point to where we're healed, to where I don't want to live a life of anxiousness to where I can't even go outside because anxiety, I'm just fearful of what may happen.
Yeah.
Because like you said earlier, if that's how you live, you're going to miss out on some great opportunities and some things that you could really, could really bless your life. And I'm not trying to miss out on nothing that can bless not only my life, but bless those that's connected to me.
Yeah.
So I got to deal with how I feel, deal, and heal. So anxiety for today, first episode, Minds of the Youth. Hey, I'm your host, Kojak, aka Yay, and here with my co-host,
Maya, aka Moses.
Yeah, my granddaughter. So listen, we appreciate you guys tuning in. And so this is what we definitely need you to do. I'm not that familiar with YouTube on what they say, but they need to do what?
They need to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you can be notified every time we post another video.
Yes.
And also, I will be putting our email in the link below. So if you guys have any suggestions of topics that we can talk about, you can always email it to us. We'll probably be creating social media soon. So if y'all need to, y'all can do with that too. But for right now, we have an email where you can send it to. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So listen, we appreciate y'all for tuning in. And yes, we're going to please reach out to us because the next episode, we're definitely going to we want to invite you young people to come and conversate. Whatever it is you want to conversate, just like what we was doing. Let's talk, man, because this is a platform where young people are going to be able to talk, So listen, be ready, get yourself together, get your questions ready. So we can go to that next level in conversation. We appreciate you guys tuning in to Minds of the Youth with Kojak and
Maya.
Yes, that's my baby too. So listen, God bless you. And we're going to definitely be praying for you. Thank you for tuning in.